Please rise for the pledge. Slowly, Brenda. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, on tonight's agenda, we'll be discussing the library warrant article, Heritage Commission warrant article, auction of town-owned properties, old and new business, then also the enforcement matter with Ms. Clark regarding a driveway permit for Silverscone, and wrapping everything up with the non-public to discuss tax agreements / deeding. So good evening, everyone. So I guess I'll just turn the floor right over to you,
Okay.
Brenda or Gretchen. I don't know.
Oh, nope, Brenda's the trustee president, so.
Okay.
I'm Brenda Pellerito, trustee president. This is Gretchen Ray. She's also a trustee. We don't have a vice, but she is like my vice, my right-hand gal. We're just going to basically present the warrant article. I did send it to Deb, the letter, I believe. Basically, it's the same. Not much has changed. But last year when we came here, you guys asked us typically in the past, there isn't much to those warrant articles, those letters. They kind of just say, hey, this is how much we want. So we tried to add some substantial numbers to that to give you a grasp of some of our costs and where all that money goes and what we're doing with it.
Excellent. Yeah, I appreciate that. And more so than just for us, it's also for the community at large, so that when they go to the polls, they understand.
Oh, it was a fair question last time. I came here sort of feeling that way. You know, I was new, as you remember. Deb had just stepped down, and so nobody had stepped up as president, so I was kind of trying to fill in the shoes. So I didn't know what exactly to come with, and so I was kind of winging it.
Yeah.
So with that, though, I'm going to turn it over to Gretchen, because Gretchen's done some really good homework for me and helped me find some numbers to help. Well, Michelle sent us the 2021 library report, which is all the libraries in their
State of New Hampshire.
Their state of New Hampshire reports. So we kind of compared us to local libraries, to libraries similar with town populations, and then what our budgets are, and see if we're on target, if we're way off base or not, and then plus what we ask from the town to help if it's all making sense or not.
Okay.
So,
Sure. I guess first off, I would start by asking if any of the selectmen have any questions about the article that, the letter that we submitted. Did anyone have any things that spoke to them?
For me, it was just that you guys were able to keep the ask to that $40,000, which was nice to see. Because that's what we're trying to do through these tough times and the rising costs for everybody.
agreed.
Is to kind of keep that, the tax base, like not, shouldering too much burden.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really trying to keep our budget in line.
That's great, because as you will see in our letter, that we are, we're in a period of growth, which the timing of that may or may not work out very well financially for us, but the trustees of the library have really sort of embraced improving library services for our community. I've lived here since 2013, and until I actually was invited by Brenda to come and check out the library and see what I could do as a volunteer, didn't even have a library card. And the more community outreach that Brenda and I have been doing just in the last few months, it has really been an eye-opener for me to realize that the library is seen by the general public is pretty outdated, and that the services that we provide have not been sufficient for a number of years. And when I started to try to peel back the layers as to why that might be happening, I was looking at the history of things that we've provided to the community, the resources that we offer, And one of the biggest issues that I'm sure you all three have heard about before is the fact that the library is very small and that we just don't have the actual infrastructure to be able to expand our services. The unfortunate part about expanding our services is that it requires an underwriter of sorts. And we recognize that as trustees that the burden does not necessarily fall 100% onto the taxpayers of this town. That this is a joint partnership that we really want to engage the town, especially town leadership, because I think that we have the grassroots efforts going on, but we'd really like to sort of have some voices that are well known in the community to sort of advocate for us as well. And I think, we're really interested in learning what you're talking about with town-owned properties and what you're gonna do with certain buildings and space and things like that. Which then speaks to the fact that we are looking at an increase of our operating budget of over $30,000 for this year, for FY24. And the reason for that is because we're really trying to address the building itself. We have, actually Michelle, our librarian, has applied for the L-CHIP grant. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's basically the historic building component to the state of New Hampshire, that they receive fees off of DMV fees, that they go and they annually go through grant applicants to see if there's historic buildings that they can preserve or restore. And we got a quote for $30,000 to restore the library windows. We've applied. We will know better if we are even in the running in a few weeks. So we are temporarily building a budget of about $110,000 this year, and $30,000 of that would be window restoration. So that's why, if it's kind of a shocker to look at. I believe in the past you've always known that our operating budget was about $75,000 to $77,000 annually, and we're going to try to hit the 110 this year. So saying that, I don't want to take up a lot of your time, but let's see here. This, can you see that okay?
Getting that light in the door.
I was just gonna ask Ben.
So the biggest difference that we're trying to do for you in our presentation this year is to really show you where our income is coming from, as well as our expenses are going out, and to try really hard to improve our services to the community in the meantime. You will see that we have a flat ask this year, that we're asking only for what was asked of previously. We are pending the outcome of the L-CHIP grant. We are looking at the possibility of a petition article in order to help offset additional costs to the windows. But again, we won't pursue that until we kind of get some more pieces of the puzzle sorted out. We're just trying to pre-plan, because I know we only have a few months to pull this together. And then we're also looking at what our grant income will be, what our investment withdrawals will be, as well as we're really trying to build in this year a focus from the library trustees, a renewed effort at fundraising. And I think a lot of that will come the more that we do our community outreach, the more that we have our faces out there and show that the library is not a dying horse, that this is really something that we are embracing as neighbors to bring new life to it and to make it a resource that we really believe that it can be in this small town. So we've really bumped up our expectations of our trustees and the Friends of the Library to raise more money. through multitudes of activities in fiscal year 2024. We're also building in this year a line item for in-kind donations. We know that this is a town of a lot of skilled labor. A lot of folks have the resources and the knowledge base. We just have to reach out to them and say, you know, can you help the library out with your businesses? We have so many electricians and plumbers and roofers and carpenters and foundation people and landscaping people. We really believe that that's a true asset to this town, and I'm really thinking that as the time goes by, we'll be able to build on that as an in-kind contribution to the library. I personally have tasked myself with starting a brand new web page and bring it up to something beyond just a blog spot, which is what it is currently. I've already purchased the website and I will be building it from scratch. It's my contribution this year to the library. And if you are in that industry, you know that this could have been a cost of thousands of dollars had we had to contract out for that service.
Actually, we did get it quoted and it was $4,000.
$4,000. So I will be doing it for the library on my own time. And then what we did is we really tried to break down. I've been doing a little research about what is the state and the local government's oversight of a non-profit corporation foundation setting for a library. We are unique in our relationship with the town because we are a nonprofit. We are not directly on the town budget as an operating expense. But in doing sort of investigation about that, that does not mean that the town doesn't have some responsibility to assist us with our operating expenses by law, a state of New Hampshire. That's where the RSA reference I have in my request letter, the obligation stands with operations. So that's where I tried really hard to show the difference between the services that we're providing and how the funding source, we're breaking it up so that the donations and more of the in-kind work is going to be focused on the library services, what we provide to the public, versus capital expenses or infrastructure improvements. That is this line item here. And that's where the warrant articles possible really would be funding. The focus would be on that. And you will just notice here that the personnel line item is the same as last year. Our librarian we're not proposing to provide raises, but we are hoping, if we can meet our budget, to hire some more part-time help to get her the help that she really, really needs, because she's part-time but doing a full-time workload. So that's how we're breaking it down. And just for information's sake, I just wanted to show you. So these are local libraries I pulled from the greater hundreds of libraries in the state of New Hampshire. I took 10 local libraries in comparison to ours. We are a town of about 5,200 residents. And Mason, Temple, Greenville, Mount Vernon are all less and smaller than us. But if you look at their annual operating budget, it is significantly more than our operating budget. And not only is it more significant, it is all taxpayer paid.
Are they, do you mind if I ask a question?
No, sure.
Are they nonprofits also, or they're
No.
part of the budget?
They are part of the operating budget.
Okay.
So my point is that the taxpayers of this town are getting a deal, and they're getting a really big deal. If you look at New Ipswich at 5,200 residents on a local budget of $40,000 for their warrant article, we are then pulling almost nearly as much from our endowment for a total operating revenue of about $72,000. You look at Greenville at 1,900 residents, they have an operating budget of $146,000, 100% paid for by the taxpayers. This was shocking to me.
All of us.
I
We're like,
absolutely, I just don't even know how that's possible. So the only other real true comparison that I could feel that was fair to make would have been somewhere around probably Jaffrey. But if you look at Jaffrey's,
Just because of the population, you mean?
yes, if you look at the population, how is their operating budget $329,000?
I've never been to their library. I
To
don't
me,
know
it
if
almost
it's huge.
speaks to what, we try to work against is that tide of the municipal,
Obligation.
yeah, and then just that year after year of just continually growing and
Yes,
consuming more money and more dollars.
that's right.
So that's, I believe, where your effort is, and it's great to hear that you guys are, putting more time and, really looking at these numbers.
Yes.
And then seeing the value of going directly out into the community and getting the additional funding,
Correct.
through the community and through the businesses.
Right.
Because it's truly a sink or swim scenario that we're in here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so those libraries, you may have better attendance at your library than some of these other libraries because they just sit there,
Right.
and they're gonna run no matter people go in or not.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. You have to keep the lights on.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So, and that's where, and so then I started to think about it. And I'm like, well, what, are these operating budgets just because they're taxpayer run? Are we just a real outlier in this process?
To Deb's question, actually, we looked up
Yes.
other libraries like us.
So we looked up, so these are other nonprofit structured or organized libraries in the state of New Hampshire. And some of this stuff just spoke volumes to me. It's that even with their population, so here, I'm not sure Wakefield how many hours that they're spending, but they have a similar population, and they are also a nonprofit library, and they have an operating budget of $207,000, and $170,000 of that is paid for by the taxpayers. So there is precedence in the state that the operational needs to serve your community is great. And we have shortchanged our community in the sense of trying to be really, really frugal. So I just kind of want you all to sort of sit with that. And I'm not, we're not asking for more money. We're not asking for anything other than just perspective. Just be open-minded to the fact that we are facing a greater need. And we are talking about growth over the next, say, 20 years as we look at the structure that our building is in. And as you start looking at what other town properties that might be available for us to move into down the road, we're looking at a population growth of close to twice this amount of people in the town in the next 20 years. If that's the case, we will outgrow our four walls pretty fast. So I know that you're having conversations about the Heritage Commission. I know that you're looking at other properties. So just keep the library in mind as you think through these, because you have the volunteers right now as library trustees who are very committed to upgrading and updating library services to this community, and we know that we will not, at all compare or compete with these kind of numbers.
Well, if I'm reading that chart correctly for Conway, the roughly, what is that, 10,000 residents?
Yes.
Is it, the municipal effort is $10,000 from the taxpayers, or
Let's see.
it's
Total,
just above?
local. That's local. Let's see here. Yes, 10,000. Yes.
Yeah, and then
Yep.
their total operating budget is that 141,000.
Yes.
So I'd be interested to know what that model is and how active
Yes.
that trustee or that board is with the community, because it shows that they either have a large endowment
Yes.
or like to grow that aspect. So there is that example where that looks like it's healthy numbers.
Yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
this other operating revenue of 108,000.
Yeah.
It could be an endowment, but it also could be a relationship it has with the school district.
Okay.
There could be some sort of budget because the school itself may not have a sufficient library.
Okay.
That's another possibility. But you're absolutely right. There are so many other avenues that we still need to explore, and to be responsible to both the community and to our trustees and our taxpayers. We need to uncover all of those.
Yeah.
So
It's not always easy.
it's not, it takes time. I mean, it really takes time, but I think it's worth the effort.
And when Gretchen finally, she's like, oh, I know where to find that. And then Michelle went digging, and I was like, finally,
Yeah.
because I was struggling. I
Mhm.
was really having a hard time.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's
It
great-
is. Well,
it's
thank
great
you for
to hear
saying
that.
that.
You guys,
Because
are
that's-
energetic and really
Yeah.
looking to the numbers and
Yeah.
looking for those comparisons, and just to see.
Right.
It's done a multitude of ways throughout the state.
And if it's a matter of us going and meeting with those library trustees, making a road trip and just go say, hey, can we talk to you about how are you making these numbers work, and what kind of services are you providing, and the population of your town, and I think that's
That is our next step.
That is our next step. Absolutely.
That is what the board of New Hampshire Library has suggested to us at this step. They're like, you should now reach out to those and go really do some deep diving.
Because I believe there is a high value. There's to the way that you're set up now. Because it's almost like the sky's the limit
Mm-hmm.
to what you can do. Whereas if you were incorporated wholly into the town, that's
Mhm.
not necessarily the case, and it's
Right.
a lot
Right.
slower, more arduous
Yes.
approach that you have to take.
That is correct.
Rick, Sean,
I have flip-flopped.
you're saying we move slow here?
No, but I
general.
really have been trying
agree.
to, I know we're close on time, but we really have been trying to understand how the town got to this relationship as it is. I've heard from patrons. I don't know why we're just not part of the school board, and I'm like, it would probably cost you more if we were,
Yeah.
Probably
and
a lot more,
yeah, and
based on what I'm seeing here.
Yes, exactly.
And so this really forces us, I think, as a library to be fiscally responsible, because we're not just, hey, we need new this and hey, we need new that. We look at the prices and we say, okay, do we need that this year or should we do it next year? Like, what do we really need? And then we go looking for grant money. What can we get for free? Because
That's right.
our,
Or at least matching funds.
yeah, because our endowment, although it's a very
Healthy.
healthy, I was gonna say, endowment. We met with the investors last week, and they're like, we do not recommend you take anything out this next coming year for anything. Like, just steady as
It's
it
down
goes.
20%.
Yeah.
which
You
I'm
know?
sure you're not all shocked about.
Yeah.
It's down
So, and
20%.
we're
Ours
not-
are as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not in a bad situation. We can keep steady as we go. But if we start, remodeling this and redoing this,
Expanding.
expanding, that money's not gonna be there for what it's meant to be there.
Yeah, which is the longevity.
Which is the longevity.
Correct.
Yeah, and
Yeah, and that's your lifeline.
It is.
Exactly.
It is.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
that's
your bare
exactly.
minimum. Like if
That's right.
the taxpayers said no, then you can still keep your lights on and
Exactly.
Right.
yeah, and then
Right.
get to that
And
point where
scramble.
you have a more energetic board
Yeah.
or
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. No, you
It's a very visceral, existence, but I think it's worthwhile.
absolutely. Thank you.
So
Thank you
we're
for
making a
understanding.
real effort. We have ideas as trustees, what we thought, but we're making a real effort to reach out to the public to see where we should spend our money, what the need really is. And technology and computers was one of the large responses that we got from some of the families and kids and stuff. And so we're gonna try to do a lot
Absolutely.
to beef that up for the town.
Because we really see that's the sort of the future of grant possibilities is the technology increase. I mean, wouldn't it be just fabulous to be able to have a technology center that we could do online trainings? I mean, the possibilities. I mean, to think about, how could we have like a classroom, have a trades classroom, have something where people can do online certifications from your EMTs to, whoever, and make the library the hub of educational resources to all age groups. Because right now we just have the school. But now if you're looking at, if you want to have internet access or computer access, who at 50 years old has that if you don't have it at home? We don't have any local resources for those people. So I think it's really important that we be mindful of what the future will look like and what we can provide to those folks. Because this is not about buying more books, hard books. This really isn't. And the money's not there. So if we can really step up our game and look at the digital world and what we're facing, I think we're
Actually, yeah.
we're doing good.
Yeah, I think our e-books, our electric books, are almost equal to the physical books
Yes.
that we buy. So we don't need to buy physical books and put them in the library. I know it sounds crazy.
Yeah.
We need this this database where people can go and access it.
That's right.
Because we're at
And
that
we need
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
space for programs.
Yeah.
It's real.
We do need
We
space
don't
for
need more bookshelves. We need tables and chairs and open space so that we can bring in the senior groups. We can bring in the children groups. We can really bounce and work off of the schools as
Yeah.
well. So
Our fire, what is it? We can only have 25 people in the library at a time.
Yeah.
Which you get a mom and a dad and 3 kids. It's like 5 families. We do
Yeah.
one program, we can have 5 families in the library.
that's
it.
right.
And our community is way more than 5 families, when we do. Well, we took it, I'm looking at you because school, we took advantage of, we are taking it, well, we had talked last year about a rec center combination thing with COVID, but now that COVID's over, we're taking more advantage of the school space. And so we did our last program at Boynton in the amphitheater outdoors.
Oh,
The green-
It was
excellent.
great,
Green one.
but it rained
Yeah. Oh.
that morning. But we got by. It was sprinkling, but they still showed up. It was a animal thing, so it was okay,
Yeah.
Can you email that to me?
Absolutely. Be happy to. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you, Rachel.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. And do you mind if we put that as a part of our Dropbox so that the community can have access to that information as well, or?
Is
Can we vote on it as a trustees
Okay.
just to ensure
Yeah.
that
yeah.
we just need to bring it back because it's not our decision, it's the group's decision. We need to vote on it. So
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I just want to find
But
out what you guys are comfortable
The
with. 'cause
town
it's-
stuff we could definitely send them because that's just
Oh, that's public knowledge.
that's public
Yeah.
knowledge.
That's a right to
so
know.
we can definitely send
Absolutely.
that one.
Yeah.
Is that what you were asking for, Deb? Just
Well,
that,
Probably the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I can send you the file. And the bigger file you probably don't care about. It's just the comparison spreadsheet that you care most about,
Yeah,
correct?
like what you just showed up there.
Yes. Yeah.
Can I ask one question too?
Sure.
So are you doing 2 warrant articles?
depending upon how the L-chip presents itself back to us
Okay.
and what they're willing to help us fund for the
Okay.
restoration of the windows, we may be back.
Okay,
Um,
so there is a deadline for warrant articles.
I think it's like the first week of December.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it
just
would
wanted
be,
to make sure
it
you
would
got
be,
it.
it would be a petition article. It would
Right.
just be.
We have it all lined up. If the L-chip comes back and says, we're gonna give you $2.
Yeah. Then,
then we're
okay.
gonna come right back.
Okay,
But we don't wanna ask for more money in these times.
right,
And, yeah, so we'll leave it
Okay.
at that for now. And we'll
Okay.
see what they say and then we'll go from there.
And it really comes up to, as you all explore what other town buildings and other purposes that you might be able to utilize, do we really need to restore our windows?
Truth.
If we're actually the possibility of moving or relocating or expanding someplace else makes more sense and more fiscally responsible, we're totally open to that. Because we just want to bring more to the community, and if we have more space to do it,
One of
Yeah.
our
We're
problems
good.
right now is storage. The library's basement is wet. I mean, it floods. The rain we get, it's horrible. So we looked at a back section to restore, and to restore that came in at like 21. But now we have to go back and say, okay, do we want to rent something for X amount of years and pay that kind of money and have nothing to show for it, or do we want to fix this library? And oh wait, do we want to spend $21,000 and $50,000 in a library that we're not going to stay at? You know, and it's nothing that we can pull out of the endowment this year in these fiscal times. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's all. It's good research at this point, like she was saying earlier, like this is a good year just to figure out where we really wanna go and what we wanna do.
kind of vision building. We're just
Yeah.
trying to, what is the interest level? What is the energy level? Are people committed to this? Because it's gonna be a lot of work.
Yeah.
And if we don't have, an army of people to help us, then, Brenda and I can't make it happen alone.
Well, we're fighting a cause that's not supported.
Correct,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's good that you feel those, like the space, the small space, like, crunch, cause that
Yes.
means you have more people that wanna come.
That's right,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
yes.
So it's
Yeah.
there's a lot of positive, and if you choose to look at that positive side, which it sounds like you guys are,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, that's what that we said. Okay, with all the talk about, everyone got really riled up quick in town about possibly doing the rec center, community, whatever. And I just wanted to put the brakes on, like just what do we really need? What do we really want to support for the town? I mean, you felt it as much as I did with Shauna and Michelle.
Hmm.
We needed more quantitative information to make a good decision. You know what I'm saying?
Well, a sustainable decision,
Yeah.
yeah.
That
for
that
the
as
long
well.
run.
That
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Cause the last thing we needed to do was go into something and have it not succeed,
Right.
yeah. So,
Right.
how many square feet is the library?
Oh,
Oh, I can get that.
I have the. Well, I should know it because I've been looking at the plans forever now, but I don't know exactly.
Just curious.
yeah.
I can get it for you though.
Alright.
And I just want to add one little bit of information. We would really, 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 really love more parking.
Yeah, that's our biggest.
So that's another. I mean, even if we can't bust out the four walls for square footage space, if we could have access to better parking, it would be huge.
Somebody told me to speak to the real estate office there.
Yep.
Because they don't really use that back area. But we really, really worry about playing with the land back there because there's like a brook, and
Yeah,
every time somebody
wetlands.
plays with land back there, our basement floods more.
yeah.
So it's and the building itself, it's so hard because it's a historical.
Right.
I've had engineers in there, and they're like, we gotta move this building. You have to save this building. you know, and I'm like, so we're even looking at that, like if the state will help us, because it's a historical building, actually move it to a new site and help fund that, I'm all in. But we're not a town that can afford $500,000 to move the building just because it's cute, like.
Yeah.
Right, and our endowment won't support that either, so,
No, no.
Yeah.
we would.
So a lot of people are like in town when we talked about maybe getting, you can't get rid of the library, and I'm like,
Oh yeah, and then that's where you
support
have to get
me.
that support. Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. It's a catch-22.
But now
Oh,
you
I
definitely
know.
have the basis. It sounds like you're building those, you know, foundational blocks already.
Yes.
like,
getting
in
the
order to get
community
that.
talking
Yeah.
and really some real good conversation going is
Yeah.
We need to get our faces out there. We had a phenomenal visit to the transfer station
yeah.
one weekend, and the amount of people that we talked to, I mean, people were just pulling dollar bills out of their
I know.
pockets. It was,
Yeah.
and we weren't even there to get
We weren't
donations.
even asking for donations.
we
We
were
were
just-
there to get
Just to meet and
people
greet,
to
to say the
volunteer.
library's open and come get a library card, and we were just trying to do outreach, and people were so enthusiastic. It was
awesome.
fabulous.
It was
The
awesome.
transfer station is the place to be
It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
if you want to know anything.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do that as an outreach yearly now.
That's a good idea.
You know, and then we did the Autumn Fest. We did a table there. That was good too.
Mhm.
You know, we got some good feedback from some of the teenagers and like what they really want in town. You know,
Mhm.
because we play with, do we want to get museum passes, or where do we want to spend our money? You know, and one of the things we were not going to do is, if you want to do outdoor movies, you need to get a state license to do that.
Mhm.
And we weren't going to do it, but then after talking to the teenagers, they're like, yeah, it's the one thing they want.
Yeah.
Did they do it at the town theater?
Yeah.
Outdoor
Yeah.
movie theater?
Yeah. Friday nights
Yeah.
during the summer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's where the
don't-
relationship building. I just,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, let's not silo ourselves. Let's look at all of the resources in town.
Right.
How can we all work together?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Or even with Greenville, I've tried to reach out to their library too, just to see, you know, if you have science museum passes, because all the kids go to the same school district,
Right.
right? And but don't kid yourself, the New Ipswich pet residents go there and the Greenville residents go to our library, you know what I mean?
Right.
Actually, most of all the residents say they go to Townsend, which fries my butt, but.
Oh, wow. Don't say that too loud. Towns will be coming for money.
Yeah. Did you guys ever consider doing like a mailer or something, like a
We
postcard?
have.
We
Okay.
actually have it in the draft budget
Yeah,
for this
okay.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would
And
like
we get the mailing list from the supervisor of the checklist. I
No,
think we pay, or do we get it from you? I think it's like $25.
I don't even. I mean, we can
I think
email
it's,
a
I
PDF.
think it's, I think it's the voter.
But we used to do a
I don't think you can get it for the voter registration list.
I
I don't think that's.
I don't know.
That's not public.
I haven't looked at it
No,
yet.
you can
Different
purchase it
hat.
for $25.
Really?
Yeah.
For $25, anybody can come in and ask for
Yeah.
the
The voter list?
the one,
Yes.
the alpha list that we put out,
Oh.
but it costs them $25.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's how the politicians get their mailing list for their
Oh.
cards. It's
But,
always right to know
I wish
stuff.
they'd stop wasting their money.
I know.
So I can stop feeding my fire pit.
Yeah, gets my fire going.
Right?
The other thing was our library, I'm going back into the archives of the things that we used to do that we're not doing anymore. They used to do a quarterly newsletter
Oh,
that
there you go.
kind of lets people know what's going on and happening, so all good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and then just Lou or Jason, did you guys have any questions or anything? Oh
No,
yeah.
actually, all the questions I had got answered about within 3 minutes after I thought of them.
Good that we did our due diligence.
You did a
then.
wonderful job, thank you.
Yeah, very thorough.
I'll say.
Okay, good. Yeah, thank you very much.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Oh yeah, take it back. Gimpy's gonna head out. Thanks, guys.
Have a good night.
You too.
Good.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for all that work.
Bye.
That's
Thanks
great.
again.
Thank you. Very informative.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
All right. So next up on the list is Heritage Commission warrant article.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Samra.
See if the town will vote to establish a revolving fund pursuant to RSA 31:95 H to receive private contributions and other sources of funding for the purpose of supporting the Heritage Commission. The funds will be allowed to accumulate from year to year and shall not be considered part of the town's general fund unreserved fund balance. The town treasurer shall have custody of all monies in the fund and shall pay out the same only upon order of the Board of Selectmen, and no further approval is required by the legislative body to expend. In addition, to raise and appropriate $20,000 for this fund. So
I think
anybody listening to legislative body is the voters.
Yep. Yeah.
So this would be fully under the control of the Board of Selectmen. And the reason for it is to be able to do something. Anybody who's looked at past year's budgets, you'll see it's been like in the hundreds of dollars for the Heritage Commission. The commission would like to start taking a more proactive approach to its charter and start to maintain some of the properties that would fall under the purview. We talked on this board about the town clock, which is currently being looked at. $20,000 was, I think the last time we asked an architectural firm to reevaluate the old town hall, they said it would be $15,000. And that was that in 2019 maybe?
I think it was before that.
Whatever the date
Yeah,
was.
right
It was a
around-
little while
right around
ago. So we thought if the voters approve this, we would look at getting a new architectural survey done, because that's what's required to get a grant.
Yeah.
Is to have that survey. So
I believe in, was it last week or the week before that this had come up at our meeting? I just want to be clear, like at tonight's meeting, that the purpose to have the revolving fund is so that you guys can do fundraising, potentially get grants,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't
so we
come down to zero.
this
every
is
year.
what happened. We
Yeah.
talked about, hey, let's have fundraisers to try get this old town hall, which has been the focus and really was the reason the Heritage Commission was formed, was to get that old town hall in use again. It's such a massive project,
Yeah.
and it's very discouraging for anybody who's served on the Heritage Commission, because there's so many roadblocks, not the least of which can be this board.
Yeah.
But
But now
Yeah,
you'll
so
get
we
some
thought if
flexibility.
we could do some fundraising, and then it was pointed out to us, well, what are you guys gonna do if you raise 10 grand and then the end of the year comes? Hate to tell you guys, but it's going into the unreserved fund balance,
Yeah.
cause you can't carry it over the next year without.
If it's in your budget,
Yeah,
yeah, but if we establish the revolving fund, then it stays there.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's much the same as, with
Right.
how the library's, set up, just get that initial seed money going, and then, it's gonna be through the blood, sweat and tears and hard work, of the, Heritage Commission committee members, as well as other community members that wanna support the various efforts. Yeah, and you'll always be able to retain the money that you raise,
yeah.
which is great, so that there won't be any additional tax burden.
And it would be a motivator for the Heritage Commission to raise some money and grow that
Right.
fund so that,
Things can get done.
Excellent.
so that we are or it's going on the warrant as far as I understand.
Alright,
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention to them too is like we can't put that on the warrant, so like they have to do like a little
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
color.
what-
or do we do that? I don't know how that works.
well, we've had,
It sounds like it could be copy and paste because it's the same number.
Yeah, from last year, that's,
yeah,
okay.
but even just to make sure, cause I think
Check
some
on
of the
that.
warrant articles were out of line, so last year we were kind of, instead of having each individual submit it, and then whatever they submitted, we would either approve or disapprove, you know, cause there's a difference, like the select board has to, you know, put it before, put it onto the warrant,
Right,
yeah. So we were trying to more standardize the verbiage,
right.
And
Well, and
it-
it also has to be approved by the state
yep,
before it can go on the warrant, so,
yeah. So all of these, warrant articles will be, like the libraries,
yeah.
you know, we'll be taking that, like vote for and, yeah,
Well, the library last year was 45,000.
no,
No,
They took the 5,000 off. That 5,000 was for that joint venture that they
Yeah.
were proposing, and then it fell through.
yeah, yeah, I believe the final number was just 40.
That's
Yeah.
what-
Oh, I thought what we voted on was 45, okay.
I guess before we leave that, the Heritage Commission is still looking for members.
yes,
People who would be willing to do. We have several projects that we're looking at now that we've brought our, how would you say, our vision down to small stuff
Yeah,
to try and get some traction. We have, there used to be a cast iron fence around the War Monument by Appleton. You can see portions of it still. So we're investigating where that ended up, and if we can rebuild based on pictures, or if we find,
that's around, isn't it?
yeah, well, our
Somebody said
latest
it was.
lead is at the transfer station, possibly. I've checked in several places where people said it and haven't seen it.
One of them
it ended
things,
up in the scrap
Well,
metal
you know,
pile.
and this,
yeah,
sometimes things like this end up in people's backyards.
I almost feel like I have seen
Yeah, so somebody
some
said
fencing somewhere.
it was down at in the transfer station where they used to sort.
So you know where the, have you gone in where the old, like the kennel is down there? At the transfer station, so
No.
as you come in to the right and you just stay to the right, there's like a building with 2 or 3 dog kennels.
Oh yeah,
I believe there's a bunch of wrought iron fence
that could be
right
it.
inside there.
Yeah, I
I
did
can't
talk to
remember.
one of the DPW workers, and he said he remembers taking, it was vandalized and they disassembled. Well, I don't even think they could disassemble it. They picked up the pieces.
I think that's where I
and
saw
brought
it.
them up there. So
Yeah, 'cause I was
we're
going-
pretty sure it's there.
Yeah. Hey, and if you're thirsty, there's an old hand pump. Still works. It's kind of amazing.
Where?
Right next to like that kennel.
Oh, the kennel.
array. Yeah.
So is there a well there then?
Yeah, I don't know
So
how
that was for
deep
the
it goes,
dogs.
but I, you know, for S's and
wonder if
giggles,
our-
I just went over and started pumping. It only took 3 or 5 pumps, and water started coming out of it. It was quite
I wonder
amazing.
if our our animal control officer is aware that that was kind
Oh.
of set up with that.
Yeah, because that might be a good satellite spot because they're
Yeah.
out of Temple, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if she's at a temple, it could.
Yep. Yeah, and it's still in good condition.
That sounds like a job for the PD liaison to see if that's.
It does.
Yeah, look at you creating work for yourself.
Oh, I tell you. But yeah, so
Oh, that's
we're
excellent.
excited to try and get some of these little things done. Like I said, we're looking at the clock now, meeting with the church to set up regular maintenance schedules. Wow, we haven't met with them yet, but we're hoping in the next meeting and start to do these little things.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's really, really good.
Exciting.
Since we kind of touched on the transfer station a couple times already, were we going to be, is that on one of our upcoming agendas?
Yes,
Is it already
We're-
scheduled?
yes,
Okay,
November 15th, I believe. Cause the 8th is election, so it was November, it's either the 15th or the 22nd, I can't remember. And literally soup to nuts, go over everything. Peter and I are working on the, changing the fee schedule, the sticker colors, the, you know, but with you guys' approval, obviously, for,
Right.
you know, how much it's gonna be per year instead of the 2-year thing, non-residents,
well, and layout,
relaying out the whole thing, like taking credit cards, I got a quote today for that,
yeah,
so yeah, working on it
All of this
in
has,
preparation.
each one of them things you
that meeting.
mentioned have come to this
forward.
Yep, but we're gonna do it all in one day, so
Yeah.
hopefully it can be effective January 1st.
Oh, excellent.
Is-
Do you think
is-
it'd be
is the
worth doing
goal.
a site walk together
Oh,
out there, like to
sure.
start the
Yeah.
meeting?
That'd be great.
Yep,
So maybe we could start it at 4 with a site walk,
okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then come back and have that layout conversation
yep.
with the satellite map, and
That's
then
an
have the
excellent
whole,
idea.
you know, yeah. So we can just hammer it out.
Yep.
Fingers crossed.
Yep.
And that was when I think it was about a month or 6 weeks ago, I had taken a walk up there just to kind of like take
Yeah.
a look, cause I hadn't been up there in a while, and I was having my trash picked up for a while, and yeah, I was surprised at all the outbuildings that are unused up there, and there's a few that are still in good condition, so yeah, excellent. Alright,
Cool.
thank you, looking forward to the 22nd at 4, right?
Or the 14th, one or the other.
15th.
I can't remember the 15th, yeah. Yeah, either the 15th or the I have it in my calendar on my desk. But I'll let you know. And I will also contact Steve so he can be there.
Excellent. Yeah, you know, maybe even, yeah, just see if, Ricky can come too, like,
Okay.
you know, Peter wants to have both
Yep.
them guys up there, I think,
Makes sense.
yeah.
So will Steve be able to be there?
That's just gonna check with Steve and Ricky and Peter and
Good.
try to get the whole gang up there. Alright, so next up on the agenda was discussion for auction of town-owned property. So in these
So-
packets right here. All we're looking at tonight is the things that are highlighted in yellow and what's in the purple paper clip.
I
That's
moved
it. Did you?
Oh.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
All that
Sean's
hard
like, you
work I
can't move
did."
that paper clip. I said, if it was red,
I also did make a copy of the tax maps with the town properties highlighted. However, if you go on that GIS glue map,
Mm-hmm.
you can click on town-owned properties and it highlights all the town-owned properties right on that map.
Yeah,
there's some
I
good
didn't
work done by
realize
the
that.
assessors.
yeah.
That was, I think, that was CAI that kinda integrated that in,
Hmm.
but yeah.
So, and then.
Question, since it's highlighted in yellow, did we get a response back from Carrie?
No,
Oh, okay.
so the green, there's kind of like a grayish one that you can't really see.
It's like white.
Those are all abutters, like it's a little bit of property but we'll talk about all those. The green ones we can't sell, the yellow ones were kinda up for discussion for the auction. Which I talked to St. Jean Auctions and he is reserving December 17th for us if we wanted to have an auction.
And all
So-
he needs is 2, right, to do that?
Yes,
Okay.
Wow.
so,
So right off the bat, like we do have that one out on Greenville Road, which is on this list. Down at the bottom, 283 Greenville Road,
Mm-hmm.
that I feel we have a sufficient enough information about in order to put back onto the auction for the 17th potentially. Cause we got the verification of asbestos on the house. Then also, we had received a letter from the town of Greenville, which stated that the people had owed some money for water and sewer, which tells me that we don't necessarily have to worry about a well. You know, cause that was one of the,
Yeah.
you know, things that
Yeah.
somebody had contacted DES about well contamination, but they have town water and sewer.
Did anyone find out what that number was?
no,
That
I was
was
gonna,
owed?
I was gonna ask Tara
Good.
if she has any idea.
We would have that as part of the auction
Yeah,
information
I think they didn't,
packet.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely, and especially in light of this
letter we received from the selectmen
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Greenville. And I believe their points are justified.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
This
And
thing
we're
is
paying a
right in our town, and it is quite an eyesore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're paying monthly for that fence that's around it too.
Alright. I think we're all in agreement that that one can go up.
Okay.
And then we had a piece of land that was backed out on the last auction that we can put back up. I believe that's the 15B/12, right, Debbie?
Yeah.
High Ridge Road.
I don't know why I thought that was 8 acres. I must have been thinking of something else. Yeah, there's no house on that property either.
Yeah. So right there we have our two pieces of property
Yep.
that we can go with.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I would agree.
do you gentlemen feel okay with having that auction on the 17th of December?
I don't have any objections.
Okay.
I just, it's kinda close to Christmas, I don't know
Yeah.
if that impacts anything.
Buy a piece of land or a old burned out house.
Merry Christmas,
Throw
honey.
a bow on it.
Yeah.
Right? Nice
But
big
Ti-
red bow.
But Timmy's not gonna get his.
Won't get his 4-wheeler.
No, it's actually a good time so that people can start planning for spring projects. So it's not the worst time to do it. And at this, at the same point, we'll have our reserves. And if we don't meet those reserves, there's nothing that says that we have to let the properties go, and we
Right.
can hold them for a subsequent auction. And what was the deadline to submit?
November 11th. I have to give him everything for each property,
Okay,
so 2 weeks.
so we don't necessarily need to discuss all of these properties tonight. If you guys wanna take these packets back and review them for a week, cause we will be at the polls on the 8th. So we won't have a chance to necessarily vote on which properties would be going up on the block at that point before the 11th, unless we could hold a meeting on the 10th, I suppose, or cause you already have pretty much all the information on all the properties that you need to send,
Not,
right?
well, there's a lot of, now I have to give him deeds and any liens, so I have to do a lot of research on them.
Alright, so next
So-
week would be our deadline to make choices for the properties.
Yeah.
I think we should have a special meeting for it.
What do you mean?
Well, we have, no,
No, we have another,
I'm a week off.
Yeah, no, we have an extra,
Elections.
yeah, we're not behind.
and then we need to.
So the-
Can we look at these? Do we have time now? These yellow highlighted, obviously 11 Temple is under current negotiations, but Emerson Hill Road, what is 33 acres?
Yeah, so I couldn't find anything on, like if it was like conservation, or I just thought it was weird. I was like, why do we have,
Emerson Hill, so it's right off of Binney Hill, right?
I mean, I didn't do a deep dive into all of these
I see.
properties,
Okay, so
So-
it might be premature to,
yeah.
but that's a lot of land.
Yeah, that's what I said. And unless, what is it, 13? Yeah, it's off of Emerson Hill, unless it doesn't have enough frontage. I mean,
It's definitely not a tax deeded property then, or do you not know?
it's been in our possession forever. There's no
Something
comments
different.
on it, there's nothing on the tax card that
Interesting.
indicates anything, it doesn't say unbuildable, it just says vacant, that's it.
Hmm.
So I thought it was kinda odd,
So if I go on maps,
so,
tax map, is that where you went on, or
The
did you go
top
on
one.
board, you went on Board of Assessors?
yeah, Well, I went on the regular
The
ones, but a couple I
extras.
did. That one's kinda slow, but
Anybody know the story of the last one? 16A48 in Old Country Road.
no.
Town property map, you click that layer on, huh?
Yeah, I couldn't like blow it up, and I was having issues with it, so I was like, yeah, okay.
This shows all the property, and there
Yeah.
that Emerson Hill piece is. It's
Yeah.
right on the Mass border,
Right,
and looks like it's landlocked.
right.
And then I
The
know,
road doesn't quite reach it.
yeah, and there is some on the other side.
Well,
There's-
don't look at where the road map matches up, cause that does not, the
Reflect that.
base map doesn't match the actual GIS map. That's why we had been fighting for years to try to get it
Yeah, but
updated.
it's only within a few feet, it's not that it's off.
75,
Yeah, but that's, you'll
A
see
lot.
it running like close to
Next
it or
to it,
not,
yeah.
yeah.
This is,
But on the other side, like in Massachusetts in that general area,
yeah,
there's a lot of protected area. So I don't know if, you know,
yeah, like I didn't see that on that one, but
yeah,
yeah, this
I
looks,
saw that on a different one.
based on this scale, it looks like that's probably 500 feet away from the road. Yeah. See if Mr. Boynton lets us know that, hey, get your eyes off of that property.
that's actually a
Don't we
good,
have
that's a
a
good idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna just walk over here and take a look at this. I think it is highlighted here.
Oh, I think I see it too, right from here. Maybe it is.
Yeah.
That's it?
That is fee ownership.
16A48, does it have the, oh, we didn't have the map and lot
Fee
number.
ownership.
Fee ownership, what does that even mean?
It's not a conservation easement, it's a fee ownership.
So some of
That's
that's like the
probably-
I'm
pieces of
looking
land would
into
be
that.
good to.
Yeah, we don't wanna consider that.
Yeah, if there's any question on any of them, I wouldn't even,
Yeah.
but like I said, I didn't do a deep dive into everything, so.
Is that wet area in the top left-hand side up there?
What's
it's
that?
the bottom
Yeah, bottom.
corner.
Bottom left.
Bottom left, that,
Yeah.
well, that's sheet 5.
Way down at the bottom.
Very, very
It's on the
bottom
Mass
of the
border.
map, on the Mass border.
See that
See where it
piece that
says
looks
sheet,
a little bit like
This one
Illinois?
right in here?
No, keep
no,
going
keep
to there.
moving to the right,
This one?
keep moving to the
Wait.
right, next to that big property, keep going.
One more.
Yeah,
right there.
That's
Gotcha.
it.
Okay.
And that conservation map says there's a trail out there, so
Hmm.
could be that new trail they spurred.
And it's
they put
weird,
up.
cause there was like nothing on the property card, cause some of them say conservation easement or cemetery easement or whatever,
Mhm.
protected, but it says nothing on that one. It's weird.
Preston Hill must be the same. Cause that would be out behind Congregational Church. Is that where Preston Hill is? I think so. And there's conservation land out there, I believe.
Maybe it's got frontage on the Massachusetts side.
Yeah, it
No.
does. Yeah, so it's all off Old Country right here, so it's
Yeah.
actually,
Down by Whirlpool Road Trail. So we might be very limited
Right,
to properties that would be
we can actually,
eligible.
right,
Unless we were gonna auction off the cemetery,
right.
we could.
Did you know we own the parking lot for the library? I had no idea,
That's our land.
that's our land. Had no idea. Well, that's a gift in kind, we don't charge rent.
What are you looking for?
Just kidding.
Uh-huh. So should we make a motion for these two properties and let Debbie get officially on it?
Well, I mean, you guys agreed on those two anyway, so I'll do the deep dive into those
Yeah,
and get all the info, and then if you decide you wanna do any of the other ones, then,
We need to
then
add
you're
them
gonna
by
let
next
me
week.
know, you're gonna let me know on the first, yeah. And like I have to find out what liens are on them and send them the deeds and any other
Oh, yeah.
pertinent info, so it's a lot of research. Although, there's one that's already been done, so.
Yeah. And then we have Turnpike Road, which I was going through my old papers and was hoping we could have a little time to update on what's happening with the old highway garage.
mhm.
You know, we had quite a list that was handed to us from the abutter.
Yeah, actually, I haven't heard anything from Ed Rogers in a while, like his review, we should have gotten back by now, cause that was one of the big points. And then the soils testing, how's that coming?
Yep, I called him, he said his company doesn't do that, and I was trying to find the recorded agreement to see if it's said specifically anything in there that we needed to test for. And he would be able to direct me to somebody who could do it,
Yeah,
so. I had
alright, yeah, so we need that,
other pertinent things that popped up in front of that, and that just kinda sunk to the bottom again.
yeah,
Is that first piece of property on here? Is that map
No,
1-7?
it says it, Old Highway Garage is 1197.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
Now, 5A/3 on Benny Hill, it says John Lower Butter might be interested in that,
Yeah, we're not talking about those yet.
okay,
We're only do the yellows.
yellow, okay.
Yeah,
yeah,
those
But-
are the ones we need to like focus on for the auction, whether we wanna put them on or not. But if
Oh, I
you,
thought
if
we
you
were
guys are
beyond
looking, huh?
I thought we were beyond that now, since you already had the two.
no, so
No.
like what those other properties are, which I didn't wanna get into, cause we could spend hours on this, and we should probably have like
We
a
should.
weekend workshop
Yeah.
on it,
That is a good idea.
Yeah.
'Cause
yeah.
this is a lot of land.
Yeah, those white properties are by and large, was it landlocked or just so small of acreage that they would only really have value to the abutter?
Mhm.
So my suggestion was to would be to write them a letter and say, hey, do you wanna buy this?
This is.
Yeah, that's
that
what
would
Do
I
you
be
wanna just get them
worthwhile.
back, right?
That's what I was thinking,
Yeah.
just do
Yeah.
that,
This,
Yeah.
you know, these little
Yeah.
things, pump house
That's why I
lot
put all the abutters on
Yeah.
there.
for old Tricknick.
And the,
Why do we
the
hold
pump
on
house
to that?
was, yeah, and it's 0.05 acres, what are we gonna do with that?
0.05.
I mean, it's not
That's
gonna be
like-
worth anything, cause,
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of that.
So if you could, find out what we would need to do as well, like with that Greenville property, if we can even collect those monies, or if we can just put it out there, you know, that it's owed, and hope that the new owners would,
there's a
Hey,
lien, they
there's
have to
already-
pay.
oh, there is a lien,
Yeah.
okay, alright,
Yeah.
yeah, so that'll just be a part of it,
Yeah.
okay. Excellent.
Didn't add anything to my list.
I tried.
Nice try.
Wait till selectmen's reports.
well, also, you know, if you're going to do the Greenville property, it's been 2 or 3 years since they quoted out what the, what it was going to cost to,
No, it's been that was this spring.
The
oh,
abatement.
was it
That's just
Yep,
months,
asbestos.
Yeah.
asbestos,
It was
yeah?
when I first started.
Okay,
and we don't really need to give an accurate value, it wouldn't hold anything up.
Right,
It's
it's
just
just a ballpark.
knowing that it is there and saying that it is gonna be substantial cost, to
Right.
hope
Right.
that the people that purchase it will go into that agreement knowing that they're gonna have to
Okay.
put money into
Right.
it, you know, and we'll have that, backing. Alright,
Cool.
so, moving along,
Do you wanna set up a date to do the other stuff?
like that,
Go over the rest of the list?
Immediately after we go over delinquent taxes.
no, I'm not sure yet, probably a
Okay.
Saturday, I'd imagine, are you guys okay with a Saturday morning?
As long as you bring
Meeting.
breakfast.
Well, you're gonna be here regardless.
I'll bring the eggs.
So I'll look at some upcoming Saturdays and see. Usually the weekends the wife commands the movement, so
Of this board.
no, me, myself. Make sure what I wanna get, the sideways look about,
Pick your battles.
alright. But I think November 5th, I should be able to, I know that right off the bat,
November what?
5th.
5th.
Alright. Don't lose these papers, cause I'm not printing them again. Okay,
Got it.
Okay.
do you want me to hold on to them?
Well, no, cause I want everybody to look at them for the discussion next week, like to see if there's anything else that we can
Okay.
put up on the auction block.
Okay. So bring them back next week.
So what do you think? Not this Saturday, but next Saturday?
How do I feel like that's?
Whatever, pick a day.
Oh,
Every day's a Saturday for me.
should do it Thanksgiving weekend. Every day's a Saturday.
Must be
Yeah,
nice.
I get up in the morning, do I have to go to work today? No. Do I have to go to work tomorrow? No. And it's the only day of the week you can say that about.
Yeah, watch us pick a day that you're traveling.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Oh, no, I can't.
Yeah.
So 11:05.
If we're having the auction on the 17th, but this would not be related to the auction.
No.
This
No.
would be.
So 11 when we meet on November 1st, you guys are gonna go through. You will have gone through the yellow ones, and did a little investigating or whatever on the tax maps or the
Mhm.
interactive maps or whatever, and see if you find anything that I kind of did a quick once over. I didn't delve deep into them.
Mhm.
And you're gonna put these in front of Bob, right?
Yep, I'm gonna send them to Bob.
Yeah.
Um,
For the
Oh.
Conservation Commission's input to see if they have any knowledge of something that may not be noted on the property cards.
right, which we can add.
Yeah.
If there is. And then on the 1st, you're gonna let me know if you need to add any of those, so I can get all that, if you do, I can get all that information and research done that I need to do before the 11th.
Okay.
And then on November 5th, we'll talk about all the other ones, the abutter stuff and whatever.
Is that good, Jason?
November 5th.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
Alright.
6:30.
Yeah, 6, 5:30. No matter what we pick, it's going to noon.
11:55.
There you go, Deb. 11:55 a.m.
I think
When's that?
8 o'clock would be good.
8 a.m.
Yeah.
Work
8
for
o'clock.
you?
And the morning or the evening?
No, the morning.
Okay.
a.m. is
So,
And we can go earlier if you wanna.
no thank you.
no, that's fine.
I know
So-
you get up earlier. Don't play like you sleep in.
So we're doing
No,
no,
but Saturday's like the only day that I can get up whatever time, 6:30, 7, and veg
Yeah.
okay, so November 5th,
at 8 a.m.
and we're doing it here?
at the Monadnock Cafe over
No,
breakfast.
here.
Sorry,
Yeah.
didn't mean to confuse the issue. Parker's Maple Bar. Oh no, they're
Yeah.
closed.
And that'll be a workshop.
Shot.
Yeah, so we don't have to take any notes. It will be open to the public, to come,
I'll
but
post it.
yeah.
So how does that work? If you could enlighten me. I've noticed that term has been used. I assume it's a legal term,
Well, workshop?
delineating this type of meeting that this is.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, so we can get together, conversate, and just free flow
No
ideas,
agenda.
No
thoughts,
decisions.
no agenda, yeah,
Conversate?
conversate, no decisions, have that conversation and then make decisions, you know, at a different meeting, and just, it's like a researching,
Yeah, and then,
Tool.
and then the following meeting, the 15th, you could actually make decisions that you discussed on that day.
Polls open, what time on the 8th?
7 to 7.
7 to 7. Okay, I'm gonna be a couple of hours late.
Oh, I didn't put a sign in again. Crying out loud. Here's a piece of paper. Slacking.
I'll be a couple hours late in the morning because I gotta take my wife to the airport.
Nice
Okay.
little paper.
Okay, on the polls.
Yeah.
That happened last, no, that's right.
No, there was one time that
Thank you.
Welcome.
I was late for a meeting because I had to pick up my
Slacking
wife.
on that.
What time do the polls open? 7.
7.
7,
What time are we supposed to be there? I got there at
6:30.
7 last time.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be there at 6:30.
oh, they're there already, like set up and ready to go, but yeah, anytime before
Put it
7.
here, and that way people can take those if they want. Oh, you can write on it, I just.
Okay.
Thanks.
Oh, that'll be interesting. And then, being a workshop, it's open to the public if anyone had an interest in participating, or how does it work?
Think so, I'm not quite sure exactly if it has to be,
I mean,
or,
we have to post it saying we're having a workshop because there's gonna be a quorum,
yeah,
but it doesn't have to we don't necessarily, I mean, they can sit there and watch, but they don't.
It'd be up to the chairman who's running.
yeah, we'll
Right.
look at it,
Yeah.
yeah, and see.
Cause I'm sure the video committee
Oh, I'm not.
will send someone if they have someone available.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll look into all that
Yeah.
stuff,
November 5th.
yeah.
Yeah, about 8 AM.
Bob?
Hey.
Here, I'll let you.
Alright,
See.
Good.
Hi.
that's the auction properties, and do you have any old or new business?
Excuse me, yes I do.
Over here, Bob.
Did I write it on somebody else's?
I don't have any specificity on mine, but I do have,
Multi-syllabic.
what's that?
I said you're very multi-syllabic.
And
Oh,
get
yeah,
ready-
the
Get ready
video.
for the perambulation,
Alright.
Oh man, are we gonna
It's
do
coming.
that ever?
yeah, talk about it a lot.
Yeah, it's fun to talk about.
In the winter, that's gonna be a winter project,
Oh, good.
so we can walk in the swamp.
Sweet.
There's a lot of work on your end for that. Help notify
I
all
see.
the surrounding
I
towns.
say we, make it the Boy Scout Eagle Scout project.
It's gonna be a special project.
And actually meet the other officials at the different places to walk the
Right.
lines.
But it can be a
Serious
project.
stuff.
Yeah,
Ed Rogers actually suggested it.
yeah.
Yeah, so do you wanna talk about the, video thing?
I don't necessarily think that we need to, but
Okay.
yeah, we're just, the video committee is getting, you know, feedback of what type of verbiage needs to be on a sign, like the different signs that we'll be posting in order to let everyone know that the meetings that they're going into and engaging in this room and in this office have the potential to be recorded, both audio, video, and potentially broadcast. So that's all.
That serves as your notice.
No.
Right.
Was that?
Yeah, unrelated, but yeah,
No, but I mean, it is true. It was brought up to us that we should remind people who come to our
Yeah.
meetings that.
so right now you are on camera.
Yeah.
This
And it is live
this is being
broadcast.
broadcast, and it will be uploaded to the town Facebook or town
YouTube.
website and
Yes.
YouTube. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So there's movement there.
Okay.
I just personally reading the letter that we have here,
Yeah,
I prefer the more formal. The public meeting hearing you are about to enter is subject to recording.
okay, so that's what I put on the bottom of our agendas,
Yeah, I prefer that to smile you're on camera, cause
that was a joke.
I know it.
Okay.
Actually, they do have them up at the school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just for surveillance purposes, but
Yeah.
that's usually why they have the smile.
Right.
there.
I know.
I have one at my
I
house.
find it.
Yeah,
And then he suggested that, you know,
No
if you don't wish,
expectations
if
of
you don't
parents.
wish to be recorded, please do not enter.
Yeah, I don't
Actually, I
know
think it goes
about
without
I mean, if
saying,
that's- yeah.
yeah,
because there are times we can and do shut down the recorders
Well, yeah,
So-
and non-public.
and
That's
non-public, so
bylaw.
I'm not sure I would want that.
Can I go back a little bit on the approved minutes portion of it? And promise not to take more than 30 seconds?
Oh, you're going to, I haven't reviewed them yet, but
Okay,
Go
well,
ahead.
it's on here about that. There was a part last week where you, that's printed in these minutes that, that the jail bars or whatever you wanna call them were going to be donated, and then that was corrected on Friday.
there was no correction needed on it.
Well, there was something about that they were going to be donated, but you said you received a call from the person saying that he wasn't donating them?
No,
What?
I actually received confirmation from him afterwards. The very night of that meeting, I called him and said, did I misspeak? And he said, no, you said it exactly right.
Okay, never mind.
DC Welding is donating them steel bars. The
Then I-
Friday evening meeting, I asked the board if they wanted to make it a part of the contract when we award it to have a performance bond. So that was the difference. I'm not sure. I haven't read the minutes yet to see.
yeah, cause there's,
Okay,
there
the
should be
performance
anything
bond
about
isn't-
the bars.
We were just talking about that the bars were
yeah.
being donated.
No,
And regardless whether it was clarified after that meeting, what happened at that meeting is all I can put in those minutes.
I
If it was
understood, but
clarified after, it
Right,
would have to be in this week's minutes if
and
you
that's
talk about it.
why I was
Yeah.
bringing it up, because
Yeah, no,
if in fact, if it was what I thought I had heard, then I just wanted to have that statement put into it to correct,
these minutes,
In
not
these
those.
minutes. correct, but I wanted to
Gotcha,
add
okay.
that, have that added if it was necessary.
Gotcha.
Okay. Alright. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on for old new business? Jason?
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
there is. Sorry, I was pulling to Jason.
oh, you were? That was good.
I should have waited till that he
You should
Yeah.
have
started
waited
talking
till I
and
started.
then,
Alright, let's go.
sorry. So I have been in touch with AT&T because, I don't know if you guys have heard about FirstNet from AT&T. So, did we just talk about that? I can't
A
remember.
little bit
Or if
here
it
and
was a
there.
staff meeting.
I think Mike might have brought it up, but
Yeah. So, so first responders have, through AT&T on their cell phones, can have access if, like, there's I don't know, like an emergency or
Mm-hmm.
earthquake or whatever it is, and there's millions of people trying to get on their phones and make phone calls to check on loved ones or whatever.
Yeah.
But they give priority to first responders.
Mm.
So the fire department, the EMD, police, us, we would all have access to that. I mean, you have to sign up your phone plan with AT&T to get that FirstNet, and then there's a FirstNet family that, so they'll still get a discount, but they won't get the access that the first responders would get. So I'm trying to get quotes and everything to see, compare it to like US Cellular, what we have now, cause they wouldn't get priority.
That brings up a interesting thing, going back to your comment of municipalities constantly growing, but as you were talking, I thought that we give cell phones to the building inspector,
That's
different
it. And the fire chief,
department heads,
we only have two.
just two.
Yeah.
cause I thought it'd be nice to have that for the select board.
You wanna carry around another phone?
And the second cell phone that just sits in this chair. And then you wouldn't have to use your personal cell phones for communication.
If you get
Regarding town business.
a newer personal phone, you could have 2 numbers on it.
Well, the point is the device,
Point
like to
is
keep
the
it.
device.
Yeah, I
Like,
understand what
yeah.
you're saying, but you know, instead of carrying 2 phones around,
But I'm sorry
you
to
could actually
digress.
encompass it all on one phone.
Yeah,
I mean,
So that's in the
I'm
works.
surprised that's your proposal.
I
know.
wasn't
You wanna
proposing, the
add-
thought just came.
You wanna add a bunch of phones? Every
And
department.
we're doing that
has
with
a phone.
emails already,
Yeah,
so we better take it easy.
Yeah,
okay. You're recanting.
I am.
nice.
I withdraw.
Thank you, Debbie.
I mean, I can ask anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've talked to Mike, I've talked to Meredith about it, cause Mike has the mobile, units in the vehicles, and Meredith has the 4 iPads that they use, so we're trying to see if they're compatible with the new FirstNet technology, et cetera, so,
Yeah,
obviously nothing would be done without your approval, but just, I wanted to get, like, numbers and how it works and all of that, and then anyone who works for the town would be eligible for a discount if they are with AT&T.
alright,
If we set up like a town account.
excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
Alright, so let's take a brief break as everyone funnels
Filters in.
into the room, yeah. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi all.
Hi.
Hello.
It's like church. So it's like church, everybody find one.
Yeah.
So you know it was vacant last night. Yeah. I've never been talking to anything. She's clean stuff out. That's right. Sorry, I don't know what's coming. Doesn't look easier.
Just gonna wait a couple minutes until, 6:30 hits and then,
I'll go through those folders and then grab the table.
okay. Okay. So, looking around the room, is there anyone that y'all are anticipating like coming in that's not already here, or,
I think I have everybody that I'm expecting.
okay. Miss Yule?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Alright. Yeah, so we'll start right up at 6:30 when Debbie comes back.
Friend's party on Saturday. Friday night. She wanted to do some stuff on the salsa. And the owner's queen. And he was bread. He came to the indicator, bread's hot. He's cold. The bread. Wow. I put it in some chips.
6:30, and it appears everyone's in the room, all that wanted to be here this evening. We'll get this part of the meeting going. Thank you for coming in. Happy to have you all. So we went over all the various points that you had brought up at our previous meeting 2 weeks ago, and got responses from numerous different either town officials, state authorities, and different entities. And right now, it doesn't appear that there was anything wrong with the issuance of the driveway permit. Jason or Lou, do you have any concerns with the permit specifically?
No, from what I've read, I would have come to the same conclusion, yeah.
Lou?
Same here.
Okay. So as it stands right now, you know, we don't have any motivation to rescind the driveway permit and to stop anything that's going on right now, like in regards to that driveway.
So thank you for that explanation.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think that it's pretty general and generic and does not respond to the allegations that I made 2 weeks ago. So
But I do have a more specific list if you
I do.
would want.
I would,
Okay.
I'm interested.
Alright. So I guess, should we make copies of this, Debbie? Don't have to read everything out, or
It's up to you.
would you like me just to hit each point?
Yes.
Make sure, okay. So in regards to the violation of RSA 472:6, regarding scenic roads, the response from NHMA was that the statute on scenic roads only places additional burdens on the government entity or private parties operating to perform a government function, such as utilities company. If the road is designated a scenic road, the town or utility company needs to go through extra steps to cut trees or move stone walls. And if those entities violate the statute, they could be subject to fines and penalties. There is nothing in the scenic road statute that limits what a private property owner can do with their own property, including trees or walls. So,
Thank you.
and from your point in regards to the driveway regulations stating the application for a driveway permit must be accompanied by evidence that the driveway will not be impacted wetlands or wetlands buffer, or by a copy of a decision letter from the zoning board of adjustment granting a variance to the New Ipswich wetlands ordinance. Ms. Yule has had the wetlands delineated showing no impact on the wetlands by altering the existing driveway.
So I am not aware of a site plan that's been submitted to the town that shows any of the wetlands delineated, except for a plan that was submitted from the Lamar owners prior to Ms. Elwell that has a date on it of 2014.
Okay, we can get that, what's that?
I was just gonna say, when we were at the site visit, those pink ribbons were from the wetlands
Yeah, and I
designation.
gave them all out at the last ZBA hearing, there were copies of that to
The
everybody.
ZBA has that.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
a plan prepared by Meridian Engineering
Yeah,
that delineated the wetlands that was provided at the zoning board of appeals hearing. And as you saw, the wetlands have been delineated with flags. There's 29 flags delineating the wetlands. The driveway is at least over 120 feet from the wetlands.
Okay,
There's been no plan. A plan is a formal, legitimate legal document. It is signed by an engineer. It has a, it essentially communicates exactly what's on the plan by having a, it has a big box on it with the
Stamp.
exactly. No such plan has been submitted to the zoning board. The only document that was submitted was an 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper with some sort of map that was taken from something else with permanent highlighter written on it. No such formal plan, site plan showing wetlands has been submitted to the town since 2014 copy.
That's not true. I paid $4,000 for the Meridian surveyors to do it, and I have the big copy, and that was just small ones, so they didn't have to have the big copies. So
And
They
Meridian
have
is
the
an
big copy
engineer.
as well.
yeah, I have they have
Oh,
the
they-
I'll get that from Sue.
Okay,
Mhm.
So I
Okay.
would, where is it?
It's in the zoning board of
Zoning
appeals.
That is not
Office.
an official formal plan. It is not. It does not have a signed, it is not signed by an engineer. It does not have the title on it. It does not have the date. It has random permanent highlighter written on it. Plans do not come that way. Plans
has
come
the-
in a large format that are
we'll
foldable.
look into that
Yeah.
aspect
It
again.
was a large plan, regular plan, it was submitted by Meridian Engineering, as Ms. Elwell said. A smaller version of that was submitted to the ZBA as well, just so that they could have their individual copies.
Okay. So,
A plan is in a large scale format on purpose so that you can actually see with your eyes what's on the plan. When something is submitted in an 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper, the type font is so small that you can't possibly make out what's on it. And so that is the reason why plans are submitted regularly in large scale format.
okay.
And there
So that's-
are
And
companies.
we'll look at that further, but as it appears, it doesn't impact any wetlands,
But that is
that
not,
have been done.
that is not what the driveway regulations require. Their driveway regulations require that it is submitted as part of the application, and we don't have it.
Okay,
And it's an alteration, it's not an application for a new driveway.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what type of application it is. It requires that the full site plan delineating the wetlands be shown. And it needs to be produced for the hearing record. It needs to be produced so that my clients and I can review it, and it has not been done so.
It's at the ZBA, why don't you go look at
okay,
it?
well, no,
Right.
we'll look into that aspect again and a little bit further. You also had stated, as a part of the regulation, every effort shall be made to maintain the integrity of the stone walls. Any portion of a stone wall which is part of a boundary marker is removed by the creation of an access point shall be reconstructed when the access point is closed. There were 2 rocks that were removed, and they were not a part of the stone wall boundary, as we saw like at the site visit that we did last week. And to the point that driveway shall be limited to 1 per residential lot. The driveway has been in existence for many years prior to Ms. Ewell owning the property, and she was not seeking a permit for a second driveway, only to alter the one that's existing.
Yes, that is correct. But the existing driveway was expanded for legal purposes over the years. So I think you were shown a photograph from 2015 showing that the opening was rather small. Over the course of time, it has gotten wider. We have never come before you to complain when the driveway has been expanded for legal purposes. We are only here because the driveway was expanded for illegal purposes. And so the town cannot issue a driveway permit for an illegal purpose, in this case being the operation of a business. So she can access her property via tractor to do regular maintenance. She can access her property to have access to the fabric covered barn. These are all legal activities on her property, and nobody is saying that she shouldn't be able to do that. What she can't do is apply for a permit through the town to alter the driveway for access to her property for an illegal purpose. And in this case, that's to operate the business.
Which is your opinion, you know, because as far as moving cars in and out, you know, the Conservancy also saw that it would be justified to move those rocks as well. Because we did receive correspondence back from the Conservancy, and they have 0 issue with what's been done.
So I did not raise the conservancy. That is really sort of, that was an additional point that I'm glad that Ms. Elwell resolved. But the issue with the driveway regulations has absolutely nothing to do with the conservancy whatsoever. It has to do with the town granting her a permit, was applied for specifically to alter the driveway so that she could have cars enter for the purpose of serving an illegal business.
It could be for her own purposes or for visitors to her property as well.
We have pictures repeatedly that have been given to the town demonstrating that she has cars parked there
For private
numerous,
purpose.
on numerous occasions for silver scone teas. That is why she uses the driveway.
And that's,
Any argument that she is making that is for some sort of legal personal use is just convenient in terms of timing because she is now operating an illegal business.
and that's not what we're reviewing tonight. We're reviewing the driveway
You are reviewing,
permit.
you are reviewing
And
the business and you are reviewing the cease and desist order that you gave to her because the alteration of the driveway is for a business purpose, an illegal business purpose.
so right now, there's no reason that we'll be rescinding the driveway permit. And the Conservancy's perspective did weigh on this board, because that was a major point that you had raised as well. And we had found that that wasn't quite the case,
I didn't understand what you said.
that the Conservancy had an issue with the alteration to the rock wall, like the moving of the two rocks.
Based on the information that I had 2 weeks ago, that I submitted to you, yes, that was my understanding. So any permission that was given to Ms. Elwell after the fact, I wasn't aware of.
So, what we're gonna do tonight is that we'll look into the plan aspect of it to see, what's with the ZBA specifically. And, we can continue this the next week.
So,
And I'd like to comment, as far as I'm concerned, this is, a property owner that has gone, I don't think very many people would come to the town to move two rocks on their driveway. So I do stand by that decision not to rescind the alteration permit.
so, I heard you that you want to continue this for another week in order to investigate, whether or not she has submitted a plan to the town. But failing to rescind the permit is a decision on its own, and so we will appeal the decision tonight.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Liz.
Can I comment?
Yes, please.
Yeah. I have to say that when this first came up, I was of two minds, because clearly somebody has a right to a second driveway on their property. If it's to access an accessory use for a residential property. So accessing the fabric barn, and accessing for maintenance, is absolutely an accessory use on a residential property. So you're saying, so what's the problem? But then I started thinking about it. And the application was to widen the access. Why did they need to widen the access? That it was fine. For a number of years, they just said they've been using it. It's been fine, they've had access to their fabric barn and for maintenance. So why did they need to widen it? Because they needed access to have a parking lot. A parking lot is not an accessory residential use. Pure and simple, that's not a normal parking lot. That accommodates how many cars is not a normal residential accessory use. That's why they needed to widen the openings to get to that parking lot. That is the illegal use. So you have granted a permit for an alteration to allow access to an illegal use. Now, this board issued a cease and desist on this use months ago. You have not enforced that. You now are promoting the illegal use by granting permission to widen the access for the purpose of parking cars for the illegal use. So you are promoting, not only are you not enforcing the cease and desist, but you are promoting the illegal use.
And that's your opinion.
Yep,
Yeah.
that is my opinion.
Yeah. So, and we're by no means promoting the illegal use or,
You're,
you know,
you're
we're looking at-
promoting, you're
we're
promoting
working-
access, you're allowing access to a non-residential use. A parking lot is not a customary residential use. Why should they have permission to access a non-residential use?
But that does, just because it's not customary doesn't mean it's illegal.
It's,
Am I wrong?
the second driveway is allowed per our driveway regulations for access to a customary accessory residential use.
But the
A
driveway was
parking
there.
lot is not a customary residential use.
Well, I look at these, some of the letters that we received, and the sad thing is, today, we have to define a tree as being 15 inches at 4 feet off the ground. And so, there's so much legalese, and from what I've seen come to this board, the business is before the ZBA. They claim they're not in business now. That, to me, legally speaking, they're following the cease and desist. I don't know what, do we go above and beyond technicalities? Because
I mean,
you're
when-
claiming
when-
that
when
we're
did you-
upholding illegal
When
activities.
did you issue the cease and desist?
I don't have the date on me.
August?
before
Maybe
August
July.
and July.
How many events have there been
Seven.
since then?
I've never attended an
Many.
event, and I have very,
Debbie knows.
the only knowledge that I have of this situation is what has come to this board. I've not gone and discussed with any parties concerned with this.
Well, you have a town administrator who has knowledge of it.
Have I came to your office and said, what can I do to help out either side? No, I haven't.
Well, why
And
wouldn't
all
you
I've
say-
seen is what's come to the board, and now this board is being accused of upholding illegal activities. And I just resent that, because from what I've seen, yes, there is some technicalities. It was brought up by the chairman. Really, that's not the spirit of the thing. But I'm afraid that this society, and like here we have attorneys present, because everything has to be so specifically defined and
But RSAs are legally bound.
and all the advice that we've gotten from experts in the field or legal have said
So-
there is no need to.
So part of the
send a
problem
permit.
is we don't know what questions you asked when you sought legal advice. So did you ask the question, is a parking lot a customary residential use? And does the New Ipswich driveway regulations allow access to a parking lot? Did you ask that question? We don't know what
Not that
questions
question
you.
specifically,
See,
yeah.
yeah, well, so
And
we
then
don't-
even some of the events that you allege happened,
Yeah,
we've heard that they were private functions, like for family members and friends for various different
Yeah.
reasons.
Right. But the point is, we don't know what questions you asked. We don't know if you asked the right questions. So, you know, I do know that if the ZBA approves the use, grants the variance, then it is the planning board's purview to review the driveway, the access to the driveway, the parking lot. That all gets covered in a site plan review.
Right.
And it's the planning board that handles that, not the ZBA, not the selectmen, the planning board. And that will be reviewed if the variance is granted by the planning board.
Mhm.
But you guys don't have the authority to grant access to a commercial use.
We didn't
Or
grant
not.
access to a commercial use, there's an alteration to an existing driveway,
And why did they need the alteration to that driveway?
because they
They-
wanted to.
They didn't,
For what
they
purpose?
didn't need a permit though
For
to do
what
that.
purpose?
They didn't even need a permit to do that.
They own a property.
They moved 2 rocks.
And if I could, please,
Sorry.
ma'am,
Yeah, if I could just make a couple of comments, just to clarify the use of that
Could you
second
please
driveway.
state
I'm
your
sorry,
name?
my name's Kathy Sheldon, I live in New Ipswich on 102 Old Wilton Road. I'm not in a butter, I have no interest in the business. I'm a friend, I have been to some private functions since I understand the cease and desist was granted. I'm not aware of any tea parties that have been held since then that were not private functions. I've attended a birthday
$40
party,
a person.
excuse me, I've attended a birthday party, I've attended a group of women that are in a book club to discuss books that we're in, and we need parking off the street. One of the objections that I heard earlier was, oh, there's so much concern that cars are parked on the street and there's so much traffic. So the use of that additional space, quite frankly, should be welcomed, it would seem to me, by the people that are complaining about the excess traffic. The use of that private additional driveway is for private functions. Now, whether that goes beyond that at some point, obviously is what we're talking about. But just for the record, there are a number of birthday parties, women getting together to discuss books, holiday events, you know, so for the record,
thank you.
you're welcome.
May I
Yes.
make a point? I understand what you guys go through. I sit at this table often. I was part of the rewrite of the driveway regulations, as well as some of the people that are in this room. I can vividly remember, though I can't quote paragraph numbers and everything, but I vividly remember on the driveway regulations, one of the things that we were concerned about was the amount of debris that would be brought off of a road onto a road like River Road, not like River Road. I did a little bit of fact finding. It turns out that with 50 people multiplied by 2, you get 100. If you take a look at that over the course of a year, the number of vehicles that goes in and out of this parking lot exceeds the total population of Mason, Temple, and Greenville. It's close to 5,000 cars that will be transiting in and out of that road. So you've got all that debris. But I'd also like to make a point that back in 2019, I came before the Selectmen Board and I told them that I've been in many, many cities, and I've never had the fear that I've had by walking on River Road with the reckless driving that occurs on that road. Sure, I want somewhere else to park, but you know what? I really would like to see that the recklessness that occurs on that road come to a complete end. And the select board said, yeah, we recognize that. That occurs all over the place. But not a single thing has been done. Not a sign, not a speed bump, not increased police traffic through that area over a prolonged period of time. Chief Carpenter made a point to come through every once in a while a little bit more. It hasn't really, I haven't seen it since in terms of an increase. So it's not just the fact that there's going to be
a parking lot in a residential area established. It's all of the ancillary things that comes along with that, all that increased traffic, all of the ability to get yourself in an accident. And so over the course of 4 years that I've been here, almost every year we've had an accident on that road. Right across from Miss Ellsworth's house, a car crashed into Mr. Valancourt's tree, and right where her parking lot is, notional parking lot, a car flipped there a year ago. Just flipped right over it. Reckless driving. It's just, so I ask you to consider more than just the lot. Consider also what can occur by creating that potential situation within our area.
Probably with or without that, it certainly doesn't increase. I would like to think that the people that are going to a birthday party in the middle of the day or whatnot would not be, a party to that type of behavior, but I don't know.
I'm not saying that they're going to contribute to that misbehavior. What I'm saying is the volume of traffic, 4,800 cars through that area in 1 year from what she's looking to do.
Liz?
Yeah. Could I suggest that if you're going to continue this to next week, that you revisit your conversation with legal advice and ask about creating access to a parking lot that has been discussed with the CBA that would be for 18 cars?
Okay.
And ask if that is considered a residential use, and if that changes any of the counsel you've received?
I'd just like to point out, we're talking about an alteration permit.
The alteration is for the purpose of accessing the parking lot.
But they didn't even have to get a permit.
There wouldn't need to be, no intent is even needed in the permit, as far as I'm aware. I mean,
Yeah, we don't ask why you wanna do it.
so
I'll explain
I mean,
why.
and I work just as
The
out on the driveway regs.
the driveway regulations say what you can have a second driveway for, okay? It's explicit in the driveway regulations, you know that.
Yep.
You know that, we worked on it, a bunch of us worked on that for a very long time.
Mhm.
It is explicit,
2 years.
it is explicit for what purposes you can have a second driveway.
Okay.
What
Mr.
else did you
Fastenal?
Yeah, I just want to point out to the board that, as I think I did during the site inspection, that parking area and that opening we're talking about, which is the subject of this hearing, has been there for decades. I showed you a photograph from 1963. We have another photograph that actually dates back to 1952. That has been there for decades. It's grandfathered. The applicant wouldn't have even needed to apply for a permit to modify an existing driveway by 4 feet. She doesn't have to follow the driveway regulations because that driveway predates and grandfathers the regulations by decades.
And that grandfathering aspect only carries so much weight in this discussion, which isn't much, like to some degree.
The driveway regulations don't do that grandfathering.
Right.
Can I just say something though?
Yes.
I'm trying to do tea parties 4 times a month for 2 hours for each afternoon. We're talking 8 hours a month for this. There's not going to be 4,800 cars coming through for 8 hours of tea parties a month. That's just ridiculous.
It was a year.
A year. But I don't know how they're coming up with the numbers of things. And it's a driveway that goes onto a dirt road that goes onto River Road. How can they blame people that are there for 2 hours a couple of times a month, because four times a month is the maximum I'll do it. I might not even do it 4 times a month, but not all the people that are just coming down Currier Road onto River Road that might dirty it up. You can't blame me for everything, everything that happens down there.
Well,
And I'm also, I'd like to say that I'm also preparing for my daughter's wedding, which will be on the property. And right now she's told me there's 200 people coming for her wedding, so I've got to put them somewhere, seeing as I can't put them on the road. So it's not just, it's a area that I need for my own private things, for my own private parties, that I'm going to be using. That's been there for a long time, I've just tidied it up. So
Okay.
that's
Just
what I'm going to be
quick,
doing.
1 moment, Craig. Chris?
So I just want to refute the idea that this has been there all along. I know, the common theme that I keep hearing is that it's been there since the 1950s and the 1960s and things like that. And I haven't been here that long, but I've been here for 20 years, and I've lived in the same place, just a few feet from the house that we're talking about, and I've been back in that area, and I think even if you go on to, I think the pictures that I gave at the site visit there clearly showed that if you are looking at it, first of all, back in 2015, when they, Jane and her husband moved into the place, the driveway was maybe about 6 feet wide, the opening there, and you could clearly see all the trees and there was a wall behind that opening that was going across there that has been opened up since then and everything. So I'm not saying that there hasn't been, a kind of a clearing area back in there, but having access from Currier Road into that back area has definitely not existed prior to 2015. It's just not. You can go look at the Bing maps and pull it up and do the street view and clearly see what it looked like before they started changing things.
But
It
we're
was,
just
it
talking
wasn't
about
the
the
same.
driveway. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Jane,
It's okay.
not the parking lot.
No.
Right,
Just
and I
the
get that. I
driveway.
know you guys are talking about the
But that's what
main
you
opening,
guys
but
wanted to bring.
but Bob
Two.
Fasanella was just talking about,
Right.
how this has been here since the 50s and 60s,
The
and that
driveway
parking
has,
area has
yeah.
been here that long, and it really hasn't.
The driveway off of Currier Road hasn't
The
been there.
driveway, the opening off of Currier Road has been there, but it
That's what
hasn't
we're
been
talking
there
about.
opened up through into that back area. So when you come off of Currier Road, if you remember, there's like that woods
Right.
road, right? And then if you keep going straight, you go into what is being talked about as that parking lot area. But there used to be a stone wall that went straight across there and right up along Woods Road. You couldn't just come off Currier and go back up into that back area. It's just not. I just want to set the record straight
Yeah.
on that. That's just not true.
But I think that's for the zoning board, right?
It is.
We're just
yeah.
talking about the driveway
I
opening
understand.
from
I just
Currier
wanted
Road.
to clarify that previous statement.
It has been opened up. I work with the Monadnock Conservancy, and every year, when we put the fabric barn up, it was, needed it for tractors and things like that, and they're fine with it. They were like, yep, move it to where you need it. And right now, it's as big as it needs to be, so it's
Okay.
fine.
Thank you, Jane. Great, no? Alright, so for right now, we will take a look at, that wetlands, delineations and the site plan to see if that's been, submitted to the ZBA. And we'll, reconvene next week at 6:30. Is that,
No, I'm just trying to figure out, when we're meeting. Today is the 25th,
so the first?
25th. So that'll be the first. All right, the ZBA won't be meeting until the 3rd.
That's fine.
But we can access their records.
I can
Yeah,
ask
but-
Susan for it tomorrow.
Yeah, from my perspective, I thought that this meeting was for nothing more than the part that we met on site for,
Correct.
which
Mhm.
was taking the wall which had the blessing from the Conservancy, and, you know, taking a couple of rocks out and moving them over so that they had a wider entrance to get into, I guess, what's considered the parking lot area.
Yeah, I just wanna look, a little
And
bit
that's just a
deeper
small
into,
clearing that they were using for equipment to get from there to out, or even going up into the Conservancy, because, I mean, somebody's gotta be taking care of that land back there.
Mhm.
For trail maintenance, that's what I use it for.
So I would just like to look a little bit deeper into that aspect,
Mhm.
to make sure that we haven't missed something.
I wonder if we could get an answer from the attorney if any of them questions have been satisfied. The answers that you read out. There was 4, I don't know, if they're questions or demands that were put before this board.
Well, a lot of those questions that were put in by our audience really should have been addressed over to the zoning board and during the deliberation that they plan on having on
But they were
the 3rd of
addressed
November.
to this board, and so I'm
Yeah.
curious if it has satisfied the attorney who brought them before us. The
I
answers
believe
that
there's
showed.
just that one aspect of the wetlands delineation and the site plan.
I think I raised multiple objections.
There was 4, if I recall.
So 2 weeks ago, I brought 3 categories of complaints to this body. One of those categories has been taken care of, given Monadnock Conservancy's letter.
Okay.
The other 2 categories, one concerns the scenic road regulations, and the other category involves the driveway regulations. Those 2 sets of complaints had multiple aspects to them. And based on the information that you gave back to me this evening, I have not been satisfied on either category.
The scenic road?
The scenic road, I do not agree with the legal advice that you were given. And as an attorney, I am free to have that opinion.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Alright, thank you. So next week at 6:30.
Got it.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Have a good evening.
Have a good night.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your patience.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
May I
Good night.
introduce myself?
Yes.
I'm one of your neighbors.
Which neighbor are you?
This is
Good
great.
night. Bye,
Good
Louise.
night.
Hello.
Good night, Louise.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
Good night.
Bye,
one,
Mrs.
two,
Meek.
3 houses before
Mrs.
you
Meek, she said
get
goodbye.
up from, you're in the old Smith,
102 Old Wilton Road.
and I'm on 60, which is the greenhouse with the 4-foot high stone wall.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's your wife,
Claudia.
Claudia. I
Yes.
met her a couple of years ago walking on the street.
Oh, did you?
Isn't that funny? Oh, I'm so happy to meet you.
Good to meet you also.
It's hard to meet your neighbors, you know, in this
It
town.
is.
It really is, and especially
Yeah.
on some of these
On these
wooded roads, and there's no lights at night, and
Yeah.
people just aren't out.
And
You know,
it's too
not-
bad.
It's
Because
terrible.
it turns into people
Turns into this.
Yeah.
just
We're still
Facebook
being filmed,
squabbles.
but anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's,
fine.
it-
I just wanted to introduce
I'm
myself.
very happy to meet you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy to meet you also.
All right, well,
Thank
have
you
a
for
nice
coming in.
evening. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good night. Actually, let me just make sure I got your name right. Lou Alvarez and Claudia.
And Claudia.
See you later.
Thank you.
Good night.
I'm gonna lock the door.
Oh, we gotta.
Here. Oh, hold on, Lou. Lou.
Oh, we gotta wait.
Hope that interruption didn't
No.
through things. I just wanted to introduce
No, this
myself
is,
to
this is community stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always welcome at this table.
Yep.
Yep.
And I really feel that it's like the alteration of the couple rocks is not, yeah, we'll just give it the due diligence and make sure. Alright,
Camera's not turned.
No, we haven't made any motions
Oh,
yet.
yeah,
You
right.
went out of the room.
Sorry.
So you're, you
Thought you
keep
made
track of
a
everything.
recorder.
Yeah, our recorder.
Okay.
At this point, I'd like to make a motion to enter into non-public session under RSA 91A3(2)(C). Is there a second?
I'll second that.